The sun was setting behind the red cliffs of Colony Thatanine, casting a soft orange light over the rocky ground. Ray stood alone at the edge of the colony wall, his shadow stretching long across the dirt. He wore an old brown jacket, patched many times, and his face showed the years' wrinkles, scars, and eyes that had seen too much. The desert wind was dry, whispering over the metal walls and across the open fields beyond. Ray squinted into the distance, checking the motion scanner one last time. It was quiet. Just another peaceful evening. He turned to leave, but then something caught his eye. A shimmer, a movement, a shape. There, standing between two tall stones, was a figure cloaked in silver blue. First he thought it was a trick of the light, but then she stepped forward, and his heart nearly stopped. It was her, Ayla. Ray's breath caught in his chest. The pendant she always wore glinted softly at her neck, just like it had all those years ago. Her skin still shimmered with that faint golden hue, and her long white hair flowed in the wind. Just as he remembered, he dropped the scanner without noticing. She stood still, not moving. Her wide violet eyes were fixed on his face. She didn't blink. She didn't speak. Ray took one slow step forward, then another. Allah, he said, his voice rough and low. She didn't answer. Her lips parted slightly, but no sound came out. Her hands trembled at her sides, and her body went stiff as if time had frozen her. Ray stopped a few steps away. His heart pounded so hard. It hurt. "It's me," he said quietly. Rayala stared at him like she was seeing a ghost. For her people, the Tayar memories were strong, and emotions even stronger. They didn't forget the ones they bonded with, and he had left her 20-5 years ago, back then. He had been a young soldier stationed on her world, helping with Earth's peace mission. Allah had been different from anyone he had ever met. Graceful, calm, full of light. Their connection had been more than just love. It was something deeper, something her people called soul binding. But war had come. Earth Command had called. All soldiers back. He had tried to send messages, tried to return, but Earth had blocked all travel to the Tayari system. Political reasons, fear, silence, years passed, then decades. He thought she was lost forever, and now, here she was, standing right in front of him, still silent. "I thought I'd never see you again," Ray said softly. His voice broke a little. Allah blinked once, then twice. She opened her mouth, but still no words came. He took another step. "Say something? Please." Finally, she spoke. "You," she whispered. "You're alive." Ray nodded slowly. "Yes, I'm here." She looked away, as if trying to hide something in her face. Pain, anger, maybe even sadness. "I waited," she said. Her voice was soft like music. "For years," Ray lowered his head. "I know. I'm sorry." "They stopped all travel to your world. I tried, ... I really tried to come back." Her hands tightened at her sides. "We thought you were dead, I thought. You died in the last attack." "No," Ray said. "I survived. But Earth Command ordered us out. They closed everything. I sent messages, but no one answered." Ayla stepped back. Her eyes were wet now. "My people died waiting. My family. My home." She looked at him with so much pain that it made Ray feel cold. "And you never came." Ray felt the guilt hit him like a wave. He had carried it for years, but now, standing in front of her, it was too much. He looked at the ground. "I failed you. I know that." Silence stretched between them. Wind whispered again. "I wore this," he said, lifting a chain from under his shirt. It was the same pendant. She had given him, a crystal, set in a silver circle, glowing faintly, every day. "I never forgot." Ayla stared at the pendant. Her lips trembled, and for a moment she looked like she might cry, but she didn't. Instead, she turned her back to him and looked out at the desert. "There is danger coming," she said finally. "That's why I'm here." Ray blinked. "Danger?" "The Dravans," she said. "You know of them?" Ray frowned. I've heard rumors. Hostile empire. Expansionists. They destroyed my world, Ala said. Her voice was low, full of controlled rage. I escaped. Barely. I came here to warn you. This colony is next. Ray stepped forward, more alert now. You're serious? She nodded. Ray looked at her closely. Even now, in her sadness and anger, she stood. Strong. He remembered that strength. It had drawn him to her all those years ago. I want to help, he said. Let me stand with you. She looked at him, finally meeting his eyes again. You left me once, she said. How do I know you won't leave again? Ray's voice was steady, because I've had 25 years to think about that mistake. I won't make it twice. Ayla didn't reply. She just looked at him, long and hard, then without a word. She walked past him toward the colony gate. Ray stood there, alone again, but something inside him had changed. She was back, and this time, he wasn't going to let her go. Back then, Earth had sent a peacekeeping team to a distant planet called Tayara, home of the Tayari people. It was a beautiful world-lush green forests, floating islands, rivers that sparkled with light even at night. Everything about it was calm, peaceful. Pure Ray was just 27 at the time. Young, strong, and full of belief in duty. He had joined Earth Command to help build peace, not fight wars. When he first arrived on Tayara, he was assigned as a security escort to a Tayari Nobalela, daughter of the High Matriarch of the Southern Sky Cities. He didn't expect her to be so curious. She wasn't like the other Tayari, who mostly avoided humans. Ayla asked questions. She wanted to learn Earth's language. She watched Ray train. Sometimes she'd sit nearby and try to mimic his movements with her long, graceful arms. You move like a stone, she teased once, smiling. And you move like air, Ray replied, laughing. It started like that. Slowly quiet walks after. Long missions. Talks under the glowing trees. Moments of stillness where they just listened to the wind. The Tayari had a word. Miralyn, a deep connection of hearts and minds. Not just love. Something more. Something rare. Ray didn't know it then, but Allah had never shared Miralyn with anyone. Not until him. One night, after a peace celebration, Ray and Ayla sat near the crystal lake where the stars reflected like diamonds. Ayla placed her hand over his chest, over his heart, and whispered something in her native tongue. What did you say? Ray asked. I marked you, she said. With memory, you will feel it, even across the stars. He smiled. And what if I don't come back? Allah looked at him, eyes soft but serious. Then I will wait, as long as the stars shine. Ray had never been in love like that before. Felt alive, like everything made sense for once in his life. He didn't care what Earth Command thought. He didn't care about the rules. But peace never lasts. Within months, a violent faction rose from within the Tayar, the Druka, who rejected all contact with humans. They attacked outposts, burned trade lines, and spread lies. Earth Command panicked. They sent warships. Sky turned dark with smoke. Ray was ordered to leave. All human personnel were to evacuate within 48 hours. He begged his commander to stay. He even tried to send a message to Ayla, but there was no time. And so, without a goodbye, Ray left the planet. The transport ship lifted into orbit. Ray stood at the window, staring at the green world getting smaller and smaller. His fingers clutched the small pendant Ayla had given him, a silver ring with a glowing blue crystal in the center. A last gift. A promise. He didn't cry. Soldiers didn't cry. But his chest felt like it was breaking. Back on Earth, things only got worse. Tayara's space was locked. No ships allowed in. No news came out. Earth Command focused on other colonies, other wars. The Tayari conflict was forgotten. But Ray couldn't forget. He kept the pendant. He wrote messages every year on her planet's cycle. Of course, they were never delivered. He tried to transfer to an exploration team. To get closer to Tayari's space. Denied. Years passed. Then decades. Ray left the military, became a builder on distant colonies, fixed walls, laid power cables. It's anything to stay in space, hoping maybe one day he'd get closer to her again. People told him to move on. He tried, but something inside always held him back. A whisper, a memory. A glow in the dark. Dadala. Now 25 years later, she was alive. She was real. And Ray had no idea what had happened to her in all those lost years, back in the present. Ray sat in his quarters, the pendant still in his hand. It glowed faintly like it always had. He'd kept it close every day. He stared at it, remembering. Her laugh, her smile, the way she'd hum while drawing in the sand. There was a knock at the door. He stood, heart suddenly beating. It's fast again. The door opened. Isla stepped inside. She looked different, stronger, sharper, but her eyes, they were still the same. I couldn't sleep, she said. Too many memories. Ray nodded slowly. Me too. She looked around the small room. It's strange. This place is nothing like the Sky Gardens. No, Ray said. But it's the only home I have now. She sat on the edge of the table. Do you remember the floating lanterns? Smiled. How could I forget? They still float, she whispered. But fewer people light them now. He swallowed hard. What happened after I left? Ala looked down at her hands. My people fell. The Druka used fear. They told the others we were betrayed by the humans, that we opened our hearts too fast. And when the war came, Earth didn't return. Ray's fists clenched. We weren't allowed. They locked everything. I know, Isla said. Now I know. But then, it felt like silence, like you had chosen to leave me. Ray stepped closer. I didn't. Looked up at him. I wanted to believe that. They stood in silence. Finally, Ala reached into her pocket and took out a small crystal shard. This broke the day you left. It was part of our bond. I thought it meant you were gone forever. Ray looked at it. Then slowly he took out his pendant. Soon as it came near her crystal, both pieces began to glow brighter than ever. Ala gasped softly. The bond still lives, she whispered. Ray looked into her eyes. Because I never let it die. Morning came slowly to Colony Thatnine. The twin suns rose over the rocky horizon, casting long golden light across the walls and towers. Inside the command center, things were unusually quiet. Ray sat on the edge of a bench near the garden dome, watching the artificial vines climb across the glass. His hands were folded, his eyes thoughtful. He hadn't slept much. The memory of Allah's face full of pain and confusion was still fresh in his mind. He had seen her again. He had spoken to her again. But something between them was broken. Cracked like glass. Suddenly, the door behind him opened. Ray turned his head. Ala walked in, calm and silent. She wore a different outfit, Nosleek and silver, marked with symbols of her people. Her long white hair was tied back, her violet eyes serious. He stood slowly. Allah. She nodded but said nothing. For a moment they stood in silence. Then she walked past him and touched the glass wall, looking out over the dry land beyond. I didn't come here to see you, she said quietly. Ray's chest tightened. I know. I came here to stop a war. He nodded. You said something about the Dravans. Her fingers traced the glass. They are not like the others. They do not want trade. They do not want peace. They burn what they cannot use. They turn planets into ashes. Ray walked a little closer. They're coming here. They already know you exist. Your colony sends signals. Your lights reach the stars. They will come soon. Ray frowned. Why us? Because humans are strong, she said. Because you build fast. And because they fear what you might become. Ray looked at her. What do you think we'll become? Allah turned to him. You left. You never came back. But still, ... her voice softened. Remembered. He reached into his jacket and took out the pendant again. It still glowed faintly. I never stopped thinking about you. Not for one day. Ayla looked at the pendant. Her eyes grew distant. The bond is still alive, she said, but it is weak, like a candle in wind. Ray stepped forward. Then let me fix it. You left me once. Ray, my people told me to forget you, that your kind had no honor. He lowered his head. They had every reason to believe that. Earth Command never even tried to explain. La's voice grew cold. Because your world does not understand what it means to be bound. In our culture, love is not something we leave behind. It is forever. Ray nodded. I know. I felt it. I still feel it. There was silence again, but this time it was softer. Not sharp like before. Alla turned away from the glass and walked to the center of the room. She reached into a pouch and pulled out a small device, round silver and covered in blue lights. This is a beacon, she said. Tayari design. I found it in the ruins of our last city. Ray looked at it with curiosity. What does it do? It sends a warning. Across space, a signal to other Tayari outposts. It is broken, but if we repair it, we can call for help. Ray frowned. I thought your people were gone. Not all, she said. Some fled, some hid. If even one Tayari ship still floats in space, it will come. He nodded slowly. And if it doesn't, then we prepare this colony for war, Alice said. Ray walked over and took the beacon gently in his hands. Let me help you fix it. She watched him for a moment, then gave a small nod. All right. The repair bay was filled with tools, wires, and screens. Ray worked quickly, hands steady. Though much had changed in 25 years, he still remembered how to work with alien tech. Alla sat beside him, guiding him through the process. They worked. In silence for a long time, then Alla finally spoke. Do you remember the day we met? She asked. Ray smiled. You threw sand in my face. You were rude, she replied, smiling faintly. You didn't bow. I didn't know I was supposed to. She laughed, a quiet, warm sound. You were strange, loud but honest. Looked at her. You were the first person who ever made me feel seen. Really seen. She looked back at him. And you were the first human I trusted. He lowered his tools. Why did you freeze yesterday? When you saw me? She paused. Because I thought you were dead. And because ... I wasn't ready to feel all that pain again. Ray touched her hand gently. I don't want to hurt you anymore. She didn't pull away. They sat together in the quiet hum of machines. The beacon's lights began to blink softly alive again. It's working, Ray said. Ayla smiled. It's a start. Later, as the suns dipped below the hills, Ray and Alla stood on the edge of the colony wall once more. The wind was cooler now, and the sky was painted with orange and purple. Ray looked out into the distance. Do you think they'll come soon? The Dravan's Alla nodded. Yes, maybe in days, maybe in weeks, but they will come. He clenched his fists. Then we'll fight. You would fight for a colony that forgot you, she asked. Ray turned. To her? No. I'd fight for you. Alla looked at him, her expression unreadable. Then she whispered, You're not the same man I knew. No, he said, I'm better now, because I've lost before. And I won't lose you again. Alla stood in silence. Then, without warning, she placed her hand over his chest, right where his heart beat. Ray didn't move. Her fingers were warm. Her eyes were calm. Maybe, she whispered, you're still the man I once marked. And for the first time in 25 years, the silence between them truly broke not with words, but with something deeper hope. The stars above Colony Thatnine blinked quietly, as if they were watching. Inside the war room, maps flickered on holographic screens. Ray stood beside Commander Holt, the colony's head officer, while Alla stood across the table. Her silver robe caught the light, and her calm voice filled the room. The Dravens use stealth ships, she said. Silent, fast, and shielded. They land at night. They take resources and people, and they burn everything. Commander Holt frowned. We've never heard of them in this sector. You wouldn't, Alla replied. They erase all signs. Ray folded his arms. How long do we have? Allah looked at him. Not long. The signal your colony sends, synergy spikes, cargo beacons, mining drillsets, enough for them too. Lock your position. Holt shook his head. We're just a small outpost. We don't have weapons strong enough to defend against warships. Ray stepped forward. Then we prepare smart. We don't wait. We move first. Holt raised an eyebrow. And how do you suggest we do that? Allah opened a holographic map and zoomed in on a canyon 50 kilometers south of the colony. There's an old Tayari relay station here, hidden beneath the rocks. It's been silent for years, but if we can restore it, we might gain a shield one. Strong enough to cover the entire colony. Ray studied the map. Why didn't you say this before? Because I didn't know it still existed, Ayla said, till I saw your maps. The Earth scans picked up its outline. Holt looked unsure. That area's rough. Dust storms, broken ground, no stable route. Ray nodded. I'll go. Allah looked at him. You'll need someone who can read Tayari tech. I'm going with you. Holt opened his mouth to protest, but stopped. He looked between the two of them, then sighed. Fine. Take 2 others. Go fast. Stay quiet. If the Dravans are near, we can't afford to be seen. An hour later, Ray stood near the colony gates. Checking his gear, he wore light armor, just enough to protect without slowing him down. His rifle was slung over his back, but he hoped he wouldn't need it. Ayla arrived beside him, her own outfit now lined with light protection plates. She carried a small, crystal-powered tool in one hand and a scanner in the other. You ready? For this? Ray asked. Ayla gave a small nod. I've crossed worse. 2 colonists joined them: Merrick, a young engineer with sharp eyes, and Toma, silent tracker with strong legs and steady hands. As the gates opened, dust rushed in. The desert beyond was harsh and red, like another world entirely. Let's move, Ray said. The journey through the wasteland was tough. The sun beat down on them, and the ground cracked under their boots. The team stayed quiet, only speaking. When needed, as they walked, Allah moved beside Ray. You've changed, she said softly. Ray glanced at her, for better or worse. For better, she replied. You listen more now, Ray chuckled. Time teaches that. They moved down a steep ridge. As they reached the bottom, Ray suddenly raised a hand. Stop, he whispered. Toma crouched and pointed ahead. A dark shape moved in the distance, low and sharp, sliding across the rocks. Ayla pulled out her scanner. Straven drone, she said. Scout class, fast but weak armor. Looked at Merrick. EMP ready. Merrick nodded and passed a small pulse grenade. Ray moved silently through the rocks, waited for the drone to come close, then tossed the grenade. A flash. A sharp crack. The drone dropped like a stone. They waited. Nothing else moved. Ray sighed in relief. Let's keep going. By nightfall, they reached the canyon, stretched deep into the ground like a scar. Jagged walls rose high on both sides. This way, Alice said, pointing to a narrow path. They climbed down carefully, stones sliding beneath their boots. Finally, they reached a large rock wall with faded symbols. Tayari writing. Allah pressed her hand to the stone and whispered something. The wall shimmered, then opened, revealing a tunnel. Inside, the air was cold and still. They stepped into the darkness. Old lights flickered on, powered by fading crystal energy. This place hasn't been touched in decades, Allah said. It may still work. Ray followed her down a long hallway to a central chamber. A tall crystal tower stood in the center, dim but humming. Allah knelt beside it and began adjusting its base. Merrick assisted, carefully connecting a power cell. Suddenly, the crystal flared to life's blue light filled the room. It's working, Ayla said with a small smile. If we boost it, the shield will cover the colony. But before they could celebrate, Toma ran in. Movement above. To Draven ships, scouting. Ray's face hardened. Then we don't have much time. As Allah continued calibrating the Shield system. Ray and the others set up small charges along the canyon entrance. If they find us. We collapse the path behind us, Ray said. We can't let them get this tech, Allah called out. Shield will be ready in 5 minutes. Ray checked the sky through the narrow top of the canyon. He saw them sleek black ships circling slowly. Then one began to descend. They found us, Toma said. Ray readied his rifle. Get behind cover. The ship opened, fire-bright blasts of energy struck the rocks. Dust exploded. Heat waves rolled through the canyon. Ray fired back, hitting the ship's wing. It sparked and pulled. Merrick launched a flare-blinding light lit up the canyon, buying time. Ayla yelled, "System linked. Power stable." Ray grabbed her hand. "We're done here. Let's go." They rushed toward the exit tunnel. As they passed the entrance, Ray triggered the charges. A roar echoed behind them. Rocks fell. The path closed. No one spoke until they reached open desert again. Then Ray looked at Allah. "You all right?" She nodded, breathing hard. "Yes," Merrick grinned. That was crazy. Ray smiled faintly. That's what saving a world looks like. By dawn, they returned to the colony. The shield activated, humming gently in the air, invisible but strong. Commander Holt met them at the gate. "We picked up Draven's signals. What happened out there?" Ray answered. "They know we're here. But now, ... we're ready." Holt nodded. "You've earned some rest." As others walked away, Ray turned to Ayla. "We make a good team." She looked at him with quiet pride. "You never gave up out there," he shrugged. "I had a reason to keep going." Allah touched his arm gently. "Maybe you still carry the bond." Ray looked into her eyes. "If it means fighting beside you again, I hope I do." And in that moment, no warships, no danger, no past mistakes could take away what had returned between them: trust. The colony walls now shimmered with a soft, invisible energy. The Tayari shield was active. It wasn't perfect, but it gave the people hope. And hope was something Colony Thade-9 hadn't felt in a long time. But Ray knew shields alone wouldn't win a war. Inside the command center, Commander Holt stood before a new map. Ray and Ayla stood beside him, listening closely. "The Dravans have sent more scout ships," Holt said. "We've spotted at least 3 circling the outer rim of the valley. We don't know when they'll strike, but it's coming." Ray nodded. "Then we hit first." Holt raised an eyebrow. "With what army?" "We don't need an army," Ray said. "We need an advantage." Les stepped forward and placed a small metallic cube on the table. "There's one place that could help," she said. "An ancient Tayar, Walt, hidden beneath the cliffs of Sharoon Ridge." Ray leaned in. "What's in it?" "A beacon," Ayla said. "Stronger than the one we activated. Doesn't just send a signal. Calls. For allies, those who once stood with the Tayari in old times." Commander Holt looked doubtful. "You mean some kind of emergency call?" "Yes," Ayla said. "Signal that could bring help from across systems." "Old allies? Other species who remember us?" Ray's eyes were steady. "We get that beacon. We activate it." Holt hesitated. "And if it doesn't?" "Work," Ray replied. "Then we fight alone." "But I'd rather try everything than sit and wait for death." By midday, Ray, Ayla, and a small team were preparing for the mission. The vault was far 3 days on foot through dangerous terrain. They couldn't risk ships. The Dravans might detect them. Toma, the tracker, returned to join the team. And this time, a young medic named Elin volunteered too. She had a calm face and quiet steps. "You sure you're ready for this?" Ray asked her. "I trained for the frontier," Elon said. "Now it's time to protect it." Ray smiled. "Good answer." The journey began at dawn. The desert was even hotter than before. The ground cracked beneath every step. Sometimes, dust. Storms rose suddenly. The team had to take cover under rocky arches. But there was also beauty. Alice showed them glowing desert plants that pulsed in the night. She taught them how to read the stars to find direction. For a while, the tension faded. That evening, as they made camp near a dried riverbed, Ray and Ayla sat beside a small fire. Ayla held the pendant that matched Ray's. It still glowed faintly. "We once planned to build a home near the Sky Lake," she said quietly. Ray nodded. "I remember you drew it in the sand. Floating lights in a wind garden." She smiled. "You remembered more than I expected." Ray looked into the fire. "I remembered everything." Silence sat between them again. But this time, it was soft like a shared memory, not a wall. Ayla looked at him. "Do you still carry guilt?" "Every day," Ray said, "but I also carry something else." "What?" "Hope," he said. "That maybe, even after all these years, I can still make things right." On the second day, things changed. As they crossed a narrow gorge, they spotted shadows on the cliff above. "Draven scouts, move," Ray shouted. Blaster fire rained down. The team took cover behind rocks. Ayla ducked low and pulled out her energy staff, the weapon glowing with blue light. Ray fired back with sharp precision. He dropped one scout, then another. Toma used a shock dart to disable a third, but one blast hit Elin in the side. She fell with a cry. Ray crawled to her. "Hold on, I'm okay," she gasped. "Just the shoulder." Ayla covered them with her staff, creating a shield field. The shots bounced off it like sparks against glass. Finally, the last scout fell. Silence returned. Ray helped Elin sit up. "You're lucky," he said. She smiled faintly. "I guess I picked the right team." "Turn to Ayla. We need to move fast." "They know we're heading somewhere important." Ayla nodded. "We're close." By nightfall, they reached the cliffs of Sharoon Ridge. Towering stone walls stood before them, and near the base was a dark cave, covered by vines and dust. "This is it," Ayla said. Inside, the tunnel sloped downward. They walked carefully, lighting the way with crystal lamps. Finally, they entered a wide chamber. There, at the center, stood a massive structure, part machine, part crystal. The Tayari beacon. It was beautiful. It's tall and shaped like a tree, with long glowing branches that stretched up into the rock ceiling. The air buzzed softly around it. Ayla stepped forward, placing her hands on the base. Symbols lit up, slowly spreading across the structure. "It still lives," she whispered. Ray looked around. "Can we activate it?" "Yes," Ayla said. ... "It needs power. A life spark." Ray frowned. "What kind of power?" "The bond of one who remembers," she said. "Someone who still carries the memory of the old world." Ray stepped forward without hesitation, then "Use me." Ayla looked at him in shock. "You don't know what it could do." "I don't care," Ray said. "If there's even a chance this brings help, if it saves lives, I'll take it." She stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly, she placed his hands on the beacon. The crystal glowed brighter, and a soft wind rushed through the chamber, though no air moved. Ayla spoke an ancient word. The symbols on the beacon pulsed, then light exploded from the top, shooting up through the cave ceiling out into the stars. The beacon was awake. Ray stumbled back, blinking. "What happened?" Ayla said. Her voice trembled. "They will hear. If anyone remembers the Tayari, they will come." Ray breathed deeply. He felt lightheaded but strong, like something deep inside him had been lit. They stood in silence, watching the beacon pulse gently like a heartbeat. Ayla turned to him. "You gave part of yourself to save others. That is the man I once loved." Ray looked at her, voice soft. "And he still loves you." She didn't answer with words, but she took his hand and didn't let go. The stars shone brighter that night. Ray sat near the edge of the cliff, looking up at the dark sky. Behind him, the ancient Tayari beacon still pulsed with soft light. It reached up into space, calling for help. Calling to anyone who might remember the Tayari people and their ancient alliance. The wind was gentle now, cooler than before. It brought a quiet peace. Ayla sat beside him, wrapped in a light silver cloak. Her long white hair moved with the breeze. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence between them was no longer heavy, was calm. Finally, Allah broke the quiet. You gave a piece of yourself to awaken the beacon. That was not an easy thing. Ray nodded. Felt it was the right thing to do? She looked at him. The bond inside you, it's still strong. Stronger than I thought. Ray gave a small smile. Maybe it never left. Maybe it just got buried under time. Lay looked down at her hands. In my world, when two people share a bond like we did, it becomes part of the soul, even if distance separates them. Even if years pass, that connection ... remains. Ray took a deep breath. She didn't answer right away. Then she said quietly, I do. I tried to silence it, tried to forget, but when I saw you, it returned all at once. Like light breaking through the dark, Ray turned toward her. Allah, I want to be honest. I never stopped loving you. Even when I thought I'd never see you again. Even when everyone told me to forget. Her eyes shimmered in the starlight. You don't know how much that means. I left you once, he said, and I've hated myself for it every day. But now, I want to stay, no matter what comes. Whether the Dravans attack or not, whether help comes or not. She looked into his eyes. This war, this danger, it changes things. If we survive, what then? Ray reached into his jacket and took out the small pendant, the one she gave him all those years ago. He placed it in her hand. Then we start again. No war, no soldiers, just us. Allah stared at the pendant, then looked back up. Really? Believe we can rebuild after all this? He gave a quiet nod. Yes, but not alone. She smiled softly. Then slowly she reached into her cloak and pulled out a second pendant, the twin of his. She placed it beside his. The bond is still whole, she said. They sat close, side by side, the two pendants glowing gently between. Then, the next morning the team packed up. We need to return quickly, Toma said. I saw smoke in the east. Something's burning, Elon, her shoulder now wrapped in healing cloth, agreed. Could be Draven scouts again. Ray looked toward Isla. Let's go. Before they left, Allah took one final look at the beacon. If help comes, it won't be soon. We still have to protect the colony ourselves. Ray nodded. Be ready. The journey back was harder. Draven drones flew low in the sky, searching. The team had to travel through deep ravines and move only at night. They ate little and slept even less. But every time Ray grew tired, he looked at Isla. Her calm strength gave him courage. And every time she slowed, she felt his steady hand guiding her forward. On the third night, they stopped near a rocky arch for rest. Ray and Ayla sat beside each other again. The moons were rising, casting silver light on the desert. Ayla turned. To him, do you regret joining this mission? Ray shook his head. No, I've seen things I never thought I'd see again. I felt things I thought were gone forever. She looked into the sky. I was afraid, you know. Again, afraid that you'd changed too much. That the man I loved was gone. Ray was quiet. Then he said, I was afraid too. That you hated me. That I had broken something too deep to ever heal. She placed her hand over his. There is still pain, but there's also something else now. He looked at her. Hope, she whispered. Ray leaned a little closer. Allah, after this fight, after this war, can we try again? It's not as soldier and alien, but as two hearts that once belonged to each other. She didn't answer for a long time. Then she nodded slowly. Yes, we can try. Ray felt a warmth rise in his chest. Ayla leaned against his shoulder. But first, she said gently, we survive. By the fifth day, they reached the colony. What they saw made their hearts sink. Smoke rose from several buildings. Shield was still active, but parts of the wall were damaged. People ran between bunkers and towers, trying to repair systems. Commander Holt met them at the gate, covered in dust and sweat. We were attacked, he said, 2 nights ago. Draven dropships hit the eastern fields. They tested the shield but didn't breach it. Ray's jaw tightened. Casualties? 3. Injured, no deaths. But it was close, Holt replied. Ayla stepped forward. The beacon is active. Help may come. but we must be ready to face this alone. Holt nodded. Then we fight with everything we've got. That evening, the people of the colony gathered. Ray stood before them, his voice calm but firm. We're not just a colony now. We're a home. Homes are worth protecting. Allah stepped beside him. My people were almost lost because we stopped believing in each other. Don't make the same mistake. The crowd listened in silence. Then slowly, people began to clap. Ray turned to Isla. Whatever comes next, I want you beside me. She smiled. Always. And under the stars, as the wind carried the sound of hammers and shields powering up, two hearts once broken began to beat as one again. The wind over Colony Thatton was heavy now, not just with dust, but with tension. Everyone knew it. The Dravans were coming. The colony's scanners had picked up their fleet 3 hours ago. 8 ships, all war class, 2 carriers, 6 destroyers. Too many Commander Holt stood on the command platform, staring at the incoming dots on the screen. He rubbed his tired face, then turned to Ray and Allah. They'll be in range by sunrise. He said, if we're lucky, the shield will hold long enough for us to fight back. Ray nodded. We've reinforced the western wall and placed pulse mines along the outer zone. Our fighters are ready. Allah stepped forward. We'll need more than weapons. We need focus. If we break from fear, we lose everything. Holt gave a short nod. Then we don't break. As night fell, the colony changed. Floodlights flicked on. Turrets rotated. Engineers worked on last minute. Wiring civilians were moved into shelters beneath the gardens. Young and old huddled together, some holding hands, some silent. All waiting, Ray walked along the wall, checking defenses. He passed soldiers cleaning their rifles, techs calibrating sensors, and even children helping carry supplies. They weren't soldiers, but they were ready to defend their home. He spotted Ayla standing by the outer gate, looking out into the black sky. He walked to her. They'll be here soon, he said. I know. You scared? He asked quietly. She didn't look away. Only of losing everything again. Ray touched her arm. We won't lose. Not this time. She finally looked at him. Promise. I promise. They stood together in silence. Watching the stars, then came the sound. A deep, distant rumble from above. Not thunder. Engines, the sky lit up. The first Draven ships pierced the clouds like sharp blades. Black, sleek, and glowing red from beneath, they flew in tight formation. Approaching fast, colony alarms screamed. Shields at full power, Holt shouted. All defense teams to positions. Ray grabbed his rifle and sprinted to the southern wall. Allah moved beside him, her energy staff glowing with light. The colony's shield shimmered as the Draven fleet fired their first wave. And beams crashed against the invisible wall. The ground shook, but the barrier held. For now, Allah, said. Ray looked toward the central tower, where the beacon still pulsed in the sky. Come on, he muttered. Somebody out there, answer the call. But for now, they were alone. The battle began. Draven landers dropped from the sky, slamming into the ground outside the colony. Dark armored. Soldiers spilled out, tall armored, silent killers with glowing weapons. Ray and his team opened fire. Blaster bolts lit the night. Explosions rocked the air. The colony became a storm of chaos cries. Smoke, energy blasts. Ray ducked behind a barrier and shouted, Toma, cover the right flank. Toma nodded and fired a shock dart, dropping 2 enemies. Allah deflected incoming shots with her staff, then sent a wave of energy through the ground, slamming a group of Draven warriors into the wall. But more kept coming. Ray's team was holding the line. Barely then came the second wave hover tanks. They're bringing ground armor? Elin shouted from the turret. The tanks opened fire, shaking the shield with every blast. Sparks flew. One section flickered. They're targeting the shield nodes, Allah warned. If they break the generators, we're done, Ray finished. He looked at the southern field. A plan formed. Merrick, Ray called. Remember the pulse mines?
Oh, yes.
Now's the time. While the others held the front. Ray and Merrick sprinted through a hidden side trench toward the field where the tanks were approaching. They moved fast, dodging blaster fire, ducking under broken fences. They reached the mine's 5 small discs. Buried just beneath the surface, Ray activated the first 3. We wait for the tanks to line up. Merrick watched the screen. Now, Ray hit the detonator. Boom. The ground exploded beneath the tanks. Fire and smoke flew into the air. 2 tanks flipped over, crashing into each other. Third limped backward, smoking. Cheers rose from the wall. Ray grinned. That's more like it. But there was no time to celebrate. The enemy was adapting. Inside. The command center, Holt shouted. We've got to breach north wall. Small team slipped through. Ray's voice came through the comm. I'll intercept. Allah joined him instantly. You're not going alone. They moved fast through back corridors, past frightened civilians and scattered medics. Smoke drifted. In the hallways, they found the intruders near the water control systems, Draven infiltrators. Planting charges, Ray raised his rifle. Allah's staff glowed. The battle was fast and brutal. Ray moved with sharp aim, hitting 2 instantly. Allah flipped through the air, striking the leader with a powerful energy wave that knocked him across the hall. When it was over, the charges were disarmed. The enemy lay silent. Ray leaned against the wall, breathing hard. They almost took the water that would have broken us. Allah placed a hand on his chest, but they didn't. Outside, the shield flickered again. A final massive blast hit the barrier, and this time it cracked. A siren echoed, the shields failing. Holt's voice shouted through the comms. Ray and Ayla returned to the command platform just as the last node flickered out. The shield was gone. Draven troops began to move in, slowly, carefully. This is it, Holt said. Final stand. Ray looked around. We fight for every inch. No retreat. No surrender. He turned to Ayla. If this is the end, she cut him off, voice firm. It's not. Then the sound came, a different hum. Not from the colony. From the sky, everyone looked up. Dozens of new ships entered orbit sleek, bright and glowing. With soft blue lights, Tayari ships, and more other species. Unknown to most humans, yet ancient and powerful. Ayla's eyes widened. The beacon worked. The sky lit up with light as Allied ships opened fire on the Dravans. Cheers rose from the colony. Ray watched in awe. You were right, Allah smiled. We are never truly alone.